So can you. With Dealer's Bonus, it's why you play the game. What do you say, everybody? Oh, yeah. I picked a good day to tune in.
Come to sound off and react for over 20 years.
It's the JT the Brick Show. Broadcasting live from the Philly Cadillac Performance Studio. Your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years. And now, here's JT the Brick.
Out of the gate, JT live from Lotus Broadcasting, the studios of the flagship of the Silver and Black. Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m. We are live on YouTube. Yes, buttoned up today. Jess is in for Bobby. She brought me a ring light for a little bit of better lighting in here. Thank you there, Jess. So you can subscribe for free and you can watch me. If you're looking for body language today, maybe you think you're going to get a clue from what I have to say here. If you can only see it, it's a JT the Brick YT. That stands for YouTube. JT the Brick YT on YouTube. You can watch the show and you can get into our chat where a lot of people are already there, and that's how we do the show. One of our many platforms. It used to be called radio back in the day. Now they call it platforms. Did a live stream today, got a podcast later on tonight, but everybody tuned in. Not everybody, but some people tuned in to hear about Tom Telesco, who was just relieved of his services as the general manager of the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, like I said with Antonio Pierce for 2 days, we wish Tom the best. I am surprised by this too. I did not see or wonder that Tom Telesco was going to be gone earlier today when I got wind of it. And the Raiders made that decision led by Mark Davis to move on from Tom Telesco. And we wish him well. His wife went to the same college I went to. I wish her the best here, and Tom Telesco will move on. And Tom will have several opportunities because he's a good executive who's made good picks, including the Brock Bowers pick. And what else more can I say? Other than getting to know Tom just a little bit socially and behind the scenes of the walls of Raider Nation. Good man. Wish him nothing but the best, and sorry to see him go. But there are sweeping changes happening right now as I hit the air. Sweeping changes that are happening. Clearly, there are individuals, including Mark Davis. You can assume Tom Brady. You can assume the other people that Mark is close with. They are making wholesale changes as we speak now for the betterment of the Raiders. The way I'm sensing it is they're ready to swing big. That's really my only takeaway. I haven't talked to the owner about this yet. I'm sure I'll be talking about it. He's pretty busy right now. There's a busy day back in the building. It was a busy day this week. Never in my career have I gone into the studio in the same week where a head coach and a GM were relieved. I've seen it together where you can relieve them both at the same moment. But what's happening here is Mark said, and he told this to Vinny Bonsignore, to Sean Reed, when he was at the owners' meetings in Dallas, he said, when the season ended, he would evaluate all of this. And he's been in a pure evaluating situation with a number of people that I'm not privy to know exactly everybody in the room. I got an idea who's in the room or who's on the Zoom and what they're doing. So that's where we start. That's the monologue brought to you by PTs. They fuel the monologue. Best happy hour in town, 5 to 7, midnight to 2. Head on out, and there's a lot to do here. We got a big college football game on tonight, which I'll get to later on. But I want to stay with the breaking news on Tom Telesco. This is just my opinion. And I've had many opinions, and most of them have been right in my career with the Raiders. Not picking games, not saying they're going to win 8 or 12 or 15, but, kind of having an idea of where the organization is trying to go. And that's the issue with this. The Raiders are trying to go somewhere vastly different than where they were 2 weeks ago. If you don't understand that, I can't help you. That's Captain Obvious stuff now. After the evaluation, depending on who they wanted to keep or not, they sat down, Mark Davis and his group, who he's consulting with, and they're making decisions now that are really important, and they're trying to get on the same page. These are brutally tough decisions that affect people and their family and their kids and their friends. They're hard decisions, and Mark Davis doesn't take this lightly. But these are the decisions going forward. The way I look at it is they basically cleared everything out now. What they did is they tried something. It looked good at times. But as they evaluated, it's not where they want the Raiders to be, and they want to go in a vastly different direction. So let's stop and repeat what I just said. A, they evaluated everything after the season. It did not end beautifully, where one guy was able to stay or both were able to stay. One stayed, the other left. They cleaned out everything from that position of head coach and GM, and I believe they're doing that for the next candidates that they're going to bring in. I believe that this is being done, and it's just speculation, on whoever's going to be the next coach. They want to have a clean slate. They want to have that coach have the ability to work with someone that they're comfortable with, that they all agree with, who's going to be on the same page to get that quarterback, that may be the big-time quarterback who's now a minority owner once, and everybody else. So everybody is laser-focused on the structure going forward as they cleaned everything out to go big. That's what I believe is happening right now. So instead of doing something, one guy stays, one guy leaves, one guy didn't stay, but the other guy kind of can, but he can't hire the coach because the decision's going to be made over him, clean it out. And that's unfortunate because you don't clean out unless you know you have something. And I can't bring to you today, nor can Paul Gutierrez, Vic Tafer, Vinny Bonsignor. None of us can bring to you what's going to happen next. We're not in that room. This is a really big ownership decision based on something that's developing right now, that's really fast moving, and it's really intense. Okay, what's happening right now in the building is big boy decision time, where they got to get it right. As I told you, this has got to be a perfect offseason, a perfect offseason. I would assume Tom Telesco could handle a perfect offseason with Tom Brady and maybe Antonio Pierce or another coach or this or that. That wasn't the decision that was come to. In order to have this perfect offseason of free agency, the draft, the coach, the new GM, it's got to line up perfectly. And you would admit, because I didn't want to see Tom go and I didn't want to see Antonio Pierce go. You know what they think of me and what I think of them. It's a respectable relationship here. In order to do this now, where the organization is after some of the mistakes in the past and the record, they lost 10 in a row. They only won 4 games. They want to get it right, and they got to get it right across all levels of the football side of the building. I hope you can understand that, because I don't have the answer, but I'm telling you what I see from above and from what I'm hearing. They got to get this right. So it's going to be a little bit clunky if you have a reigning GM and he's not going to be the final say with the coach. Does everybody get that? Tom Telesco was brought in after Antonio Pierce became the interim head coach. Then he became the head coach when Tom Telesco was brought in. That was a little bit clunky. It was. It's typically not how it's done. Right? Some people bring in a superstar GM, an elite GM to come in, and then the GM does what? He hires the coach. He redoes football operations. He redoes the scouting department. He does everything. Okay, I think that's what the Raiders are trying to do now. I think the Raiders know they have great people and have had great people in the building, Tom Telesco, Antonio Pierce, really good decisions, what they've tried to do. Look, let's go back to Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels. They tried that out. They brought in 2 guys who were kind of joined together, 2 guys who had tremendous success in New England. They tried to put it together. It didn't work. Okay, we can write a book on why it didn't work. They're doing it again. They're going to try to get it right from the top all the way across, underneath Mark Davis, underneath Tom Brady, new ownership, right? New owners still in, new owners who just bought a nice piece of the team. So there's a lot of new people involved, but it all goes to Mark Davis. And Mark is now looking at this differently than he looked at it in the past to try to get it right because of the mistakes of the past, I'm assuming. And he's got Tom Brady right there with him. And for everybody who's trying to speculate about Tom Brady, this was a part of the show today. I prepped the show 2 or 3 hours before the show. I had a block coming up. We got one hockey guest I can't move today. They're playing tonight. But I moved everybody out. Lee Sterling was going to pick games. I cleared everything out because I was going to do a segment around 1:15, 1:30 Pacific time on the lack of communication the media has trying to figure out Tom Brady. We all know that Tom Brady's involved now. We all know that Tom Brady was brought in to help this team be great because he was great as a football player, and he's involved as an owner now, not to be an 8-win team or a 4-win team. I don't know how quickly Tom Brady is going to be involved in the building at a distance, Zoom calls, all of that. When they want to let me know, they're going to tell me, and I'll be able to tell you that. So no one knows that. Nobody's not even friends of mine high up in the building don't know this. So I'm assuming that Tom Brady, involved with Mark Davis, want to make a great decision here, a big time decision, and it's going to go down this way. Coach, who's got to be great. Okay, it could be a brand new coach who they love and blows everybody away. It could be a veteran coach to kind of get it right here and kind of stabilize the record from a Pete Carroll, go down the road, Steve Spagnuolo. Look who they're interviewing. Here's something I could give you. Here's something I could give you on the record. Just watch the people that they're going to be interviewing here and putting out requests for. I think it'll give you a clue for the type of coach that they want if you look at all of them together. And then after you do that, you have a coach and a GM aligned with the owner, Mark Davis, the new minority owner, Tom Brady, all in agreement, in alignment, going into the upcoming season on the quarterback, and the rest of the draft. That's how I see it. So it's a business, and businesses are hard, man. They are hard, and football's hard. I was telling Jess as we came in here, we're watching the Fires today. That's life and death. That's life and death. This is football and sports, but it's really serious. It's not life and death, but it's jobs, employment, and unemployment. Really big things. It's legacy. Who comes in and who doesn't come in? Why isn't Telesco here for 3 or 4 years, working another draft? I don't know. Nobody knows. Mark's not talking now to the media and having a press conference. He's behind the scenes working with people in a fast pace now, but trying to get it right with a bunch of ideas going forward on how to get this thing seamless and try to get it to a point where Mark wants it, where there are going to be people that he trusts, including owners and other people that are involved now that haven't been involved since they weren't involved last offseason. And I believe that Mark, and I always believe that Mark is trying to do the best and is by really taking a step back and listening. So for the people who are telling me and going, oh, JT, he's reckless. He just fires everybody. He's paying for 4 coaches. He's paying for 3 GMs now. Well, it's his money. He wants to get it right. And I was talking to one of my good friends before the show hit. And I said, I think you'll like this down the road because I think they're going big. I think they're going big. They're not doing all this, getting rid of Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco to go small, because those are really good guys that were just relieved of their services, really good guys who fought to be here and wanted to be here. There is something bigger brewing where the Raiders want to jump in and do something big and bold and get it right for a global franchise that is now worth a lot more than it ever dreamed of being worth, that has more resources than it ever had, and hopefully has the assets to go out and convince the right people to come in. That's all I got, because nobody's got anything else. All right, Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, they didn't break into SportsCenter and say, breaking news, Tom Brady's going to be in. No one's saying anything because no one knows. Tom Brady's working as a broadcaster for some pretty big football games coming up. We all know he's going to have influence on all the decisions. He's an owner. He's not a consultant. He's one of our owners now in Raider Nation. We better get greatness out of him from his opinions and what he's going to recommend. We all should hope for that. Even some of you fans that can't handle the tuck rule anymore and still want to bring up that stuff. Okay? He's here to help. He wants to be here. He's an owner to help us win, us in the Raider Nation. And then I think the decision, when it's made, because when we saw a couple of recent decisions that were made, John Gruden, great move. Unbelievable. Gruden's back. But why Mike Mayock? Mike Mayock's never been a GM. Well, Mike's a really good guy. He's on TV. He basically knows the draft better than anybody. We want to draft well. Great intentions of bringing in Gruden and Mayock. Intentions in air quotes. Didn't work. So then you go with Rich Bisaccia. He does a nice job. He takes the team and leads them to the postseason. Well-intended coach. They didn't believe that he was, at that time, the candidate to be the head coach. Maybe looking back on that, he should have got a year or not. We'll never know. He's a special teams coach in Green Bay. They're in the playoffs. We wish coach well. Then we get into the McDaniels era with Dave Ziegler. Two people that came together, different voices in the room in the building in Henderson, different people consulting on that and giving Mark information on doing that, and eventually Mark making the decision and standing by it because he's Mark Davis. He stands by everything he does and says. That didn't work out. Had a lot to do with the chemistry of the quarterback, the coach, the head coach connecting with the players, but intentions were really good. And then Antonio Pierce comes in as the interim coach. As I've been saying on podcasts and other appearances, Mark Davis thought enough of him to make him the head coach because he did a nice job being the interim coach. But then this season, the team, when it comes to a win-loss record, had one of the worst streaks in Raider history, lost 10 in a row. So evaluating him along with Tom Telesco, and Tom, I thought the draft was pretty good. Well, it's going to take 3 or 4 years to realize, but I thought Tom did a really nice job, and Tom's a great guy. The times I met him, nothing but a class act gentleman. And they have some type of chemistry. A lot of people have asked me, has it been weird? Coach calls him Telesco, not Tom. You know, Tom's not around much around AP. Do I know anything? I know nothing. I don't go home with these guys after work and have a beer in their backyard. I did with Gruden a lot, but these guys, I don't. And I don't know if they wanted to stay together or not. But the decision was made above Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce to move in this new direction. And again, I mean, if you're going to call in on this topic, please call in and give us what you think needs to happen next. I respect your opinion as Raider fans. You're the season ticket holders. I want to hear what you have to say on this. But typically, as I was telling Jess and Bobby, this is danger zone for the radio, which I'm really good at. I'm going on 30 years of knowing where the barbed wire is, where the cliff is, where not to turn off in the road and hit a tree. Knock wood, because we deal with live microphones and talking. I have no script. But normally what happens here is they tell you what's going to happen here in a couple of weeks. They lay it out. They have a press conference. Mark will come out at the press conference. He'll speak for a few minutes. To his right will be the GM. To his left will be the coach. And we'll have real clarity on exactly what happened. Maybe Tom Brady after the Super Bowl would be at the press conference. I doubt it, but maybe, or someone else. And in that room, they're going to tell us the vision of the 2025-2026 Raiders. And I have a feeling it's going to be really streamlined. It's going to be intensely focused. And there's going to be a big plan on how, as I've been talking about to you, to thread the needle. You got to thread the needle on this one, man. Jobs are at stake. GM just lost his job. Head coach lost his job for the next group, and we don't know who the next group is. So the next group's going to come in, following up some really good people that worked hard and bled silver and black and wanted to make it work, and it's going to be their turn to sit at the podium and explain their vision. And I want to say their vision is going to be better or worse than McDaniels or Antonio Pierce and all that, because I don't want to disrespect the guys who are no longer here. But I will tell you, whoever this next group is going to be, I think everybody's going to look at it and say, oh, I remember what JT said 2-3 weeks ago, a month ago. It looks like it is really dialed in with some vision that we can all understand now. We don't understand it on the 9th of January, but man, a couple of weeks from now or a month from now when they introduce everybody and they go on the shows and go on our TV shows and they give the vision of what they want to do for the draft and free agency and who they all report to, wink, wink, who they all report to, I think that will give us tremendous clarity on where the Raiders are going to go in the future. Because they got some good players, not enough. They got a lot of money to spend. They got a lot of draft equity. And again, I'm just speculating. I'm not assuming. I'm careful with what I'm about to say. But I think Mark knows, after some of the decisions in the past and the record of this team, after they did go to the playoffs with John Gruden's initial team that Patriot took over, after that, the thing went down. And I think a lot of it went down because in Vegas, we haven't been drafting well. And the Brock Bowers draft was great. Again, the Tom Telesco draft is going to need 2 or 3 years to play out, but I think it was pretty good. Free agents and where the free agents are going to come from, how everything's going to be designed. Well, let me ask you something. I'm asking everybody this. I'm looking into the camera and I'm looking into your car radio and into your phone. You know you want to get this one right. I know all of you who like Telesco like I did in AP. Let's agree that a majority of us like those guys. Were those the guys that you thought were going to make it perfect? Nothing's ever perfect. If you did, I really respect that. I've had plenty of people call me and call this show and call me personally. Man, I wish they would have given them both another year. So do their wives and kids and everybody else. It's a good thing it's good to treat people like that. I wish they had another year or two. But what this comes down to now is they didn't get a year or two after this because it didn't work. They were in charge. They kicked ass to be great and try to get it right. It didn't work. And a lot of that had to do with injuries, the quarterback decisions. What happened? Some guy just said to me in the chat, did Telesco get fired because of Gardner Minshew? Well, no, I don't think so. But was Gardner Minshew a good decision? At the time when it was presented to us, it looked like a nice backup competition guy, right? We just missed out on Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson, and Sam Darnold. We, the Raider Nation, missed out on them, and this business is about hindsight. Well, I always say, let's go back in the hot tub time machine. We really could have got Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold for nothing? Yeah, for nothing. Okay, so the next group that comes in here can't pass on Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield for nothing. If they're available, and maybe they'll have a different idea. The future of this team in Vegas, in Las Vegas, the foundation of the stadium, the deal that was set, by the way, by people who are no longer here, too, who assisted Mark and did a wonderful job with relocation, the stadium, everything that happened here. The future is strong financially. That's why Tom Brady wanted to buy a piece of this team. We all get that, right? Tom Brady could have bought a piece of the Titans, the Jaguars. I'm sure he could have bought a piece of the Patriots with Mr. Kraft. I think that Tom Brady, I'm not putting words in his mouth, wanted to be in Las Vegas for a lot of different reasons, the sports and entertainment capital of the world. And he's here now. And his advice on the quarterback situation and how an organization can be run the way he likes an organization to be run, right? The way he was used to the organization being run around him from Tampa Bay. Maybe he liked a little bit less than New England or more. We don't know. Tom will eventually talk about it. But what's going to happen now is the way this organization is streamlined from the football side, it's going to look vastly different. And some people don't like change, and I'm aware of that. The phone number is 702-365-9200. 702, Vegas, 702-365-9200. You'll be the first callers in the history of the Raiders to talk about the GM being let go in Vegas and what should do going forward. I'm interested in what you have to say. If not, I'll talk 2 hours because I can't stop talking about this because I think it's fascinating. It's really fascinating how the Raiders went from getting no media coverage, none, to all of this media coverage. Some people are going to say the Raiders are insane. They're crazy. Look what they're doing. Mark Davis is making so many rash decisions. And other people that are really sharp on the other side are going to come in and go, this is exactly what needed to happen. If this organization wants to get the next move right, they had to clean it out, bring in a new group of people who are going to be that new group at a very high level that are all going to work together with the vision that comes down from Mark Davis and the new people he's talking to. Get it? New people that he's talking to in this stage of his life and ownership. And they're going to knock it out of the park because they have to knock it out of the park. So that's where we stand there. That's about it. We got a big weekend here in sports. Got a big weekend coming up here with playoff games and the college football playoffs. If you do live in Vegas and you're listening to me here in Vegas, this is a big week to get out of the house, go to any of our local establishments to watch the games. You got 2 nights of college football in the semifinal, Final Four, and then you have the ability to watch NFL playoffs, which I don't know if there's a better place in the country to go watch the playoffs on TV than all these casino properties in Las Vegas. So have a lot of fun with that. Gary Lawless from the Golden Knights at 1. He's a great guest. We're not moving him. We'll do 10 minutes with Gary. The rest of it will probably be mostly Raider content. Stay tuned in Vegas on 920. Get us going.
Hey, how's it going, JT? I'm a long-time listener, not a first-time caller, but woke up to the news like everybody else did about general manager being really upsetting. It just feels like such a step back of Patriot being let go. Now the general manager. I mean, talk about the Raider way. It seems like we're chasing the Patriot way and everything that they got going on in New England or had going on in New England, and the Raider way once again where you are.
So hold on. Let me stop you because I want to hear what you said. So are we never to hire people and consultants and ownership of people who were successful at the highest level the last 25 years in sports? Do we have to take that out where we can't look at people like Tom Brady, who's now part owner of the team, who's won 7 Super Bowls because he played for the Patriots? We're really going down that road. So are you calling me saying you're anti-Brady no matter what happens when he comes here?
It's not about being anti-Brady.
Yeah, it is. He played for the Patriots. What happened? Why are you talking about Bill Belichick? Why? Who brought up Bill Belichick?
Because what he did in Tampa was vastly different from what he did in New England. I don't mind Tom Brady and the things that he did in New England because that was progressive and it showed that it actually worked on an immediate basis, right? But in New England, that's not the case. When he left New England, it did not work.
So the
coaching staff that they had did not work.
Okay, so
the coaching staff that they had didn't work in other places as well. We can talk about these.
Okay. You have Patriot, my friend, you have Patriot derangement syndrome. You just said Brady did a progressive stuff in Tampa. What happens if everything he brings to the Raiders is the progressive stuff he did in Tampa? Okay. Okay.
I hope that what he did in Tampa comes to that. I just don't want any New England. I know we're talking about
Okay.
You're talking about maybe Bill Belichick.
Oh, wait, whoa. So,
I hope that stuff doesn't happen.
okay, so you're anti-Vrabel too?
Yes.
Okay.
He destroyed the Titans. He destroyed
Oh,
I'm talking about Mike Mularkey built that team.
Okay.
Mike Mularkey brought in A.J. Brown. He brought in Derrick Henry.
Okay.
He brought in Tannehill. That was not Vrabel's team. And Vrabel traded A.J. Brown. Vrabel got
you think no? Okay, Jess, we got to wrap it up now. Now he's just being reckless. Vrabel did not trade A.J. Brown. Vrabel wanted to keep him. Management above him did that. I appreciate your call. I mean, again, I think I came up with this term, Patriot derangement syndrome. I mean, that guy's a really good call to start off the show. That's what we're dealing with. There's a guy who just flew into the show, basically saying, I don't want to have anything to do with anything that had to do anything with the success of New England. And Tom Brady's not one of the owners. Okay, put yourself in my shoes for 15 seconds. And how do you handle that? I mean, what are we doing here? Tom Brady is here. Okay? I have people tell me he's like Superman with a cape. I have other people saying like that guy wants nothing to do with what he did in New England, but he's okay for 2 years in Tampa. Okay, we respect everybody's opinion here on this. It is going to get very emotional because it was a very emotional season that we just had, right? So again, Patriots West. It'd be like being in the NBA and saying, okay, we're starting a new NBA team. We fired the GM. We fired the head coach in the NBA. But we can't have anything to do with the Celtics or the Lakers in their past. Really? So we can't hire anybody from the Celtics or the Lakers? No, because I don't like the Lakers or the Celtics. Hey, everybody, we're not moving Foxborough to Vegas. But I can understand how you feel about that from McDaniels and what happened there. 702-365-9200. All right, Jess, when we come back, we'll dive right into this. I added Bill Williamson. Bill will join us. He's the longest tenured Raiders insider. So that's where we stand as we continue. We're going to fix the radio feed. I'm just getting a text on that, and we'll come back on the other side. This is Raider Nation Radio. Something's wrong with our feed. Hey.
It's the morning tailgate. Ben Johnson's, Salim Cohen's, what you're banking on, and at this point, it's still a great unknown, is that they're going to be able to take that skill set and expand it across the team.
We saw it here with Josh McDaniels, the mad scientist, the guy who was revered by his offensive players, but didn't have the whole group. He wasn't able to manage the entire 53 plus.
The morning tailgate, weekdays at 7 a.m. on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m.
This is JT from Palisades, New York style coal-fired brick oven pizza, 4 locations in the Valley, Summerlin and Oak Park, on the Strip at the Palazzo, Southwest Las Vegas on Rainbow, and in Green Valley on Eastern Avenue.
Okay,
Palisades,
what is up with our radio feed? So can we get an engineer in here? This is from the Raiders.
Is Doghouse Saloon at Resorts World, Las Vegas. Doghouse has the best views to watch the action. A sportsbook on site to place your bets.
No. Do not call Bill.
An amazing after party with live music, entertainment, dancing, and dueling pianos. Also inside
All right,
Doghouse
a
is
little bit of problems here technically. Did anybody hear any glitch on the radio?
And JT the Brick Show is a proud partner of the Doghouse Saloon at Resorts World, Las Vegas.
This is Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m., the home of Raider Nation.
Make your craveable box combo dreams come true at Raising Cane's, where every chicken finger is hand battered and cooked to order just for you. Every crinkle cut fry comes from grade A premium potatoes. The Texas toast is lightly brushed with Cane's garlic butter, bland and grilled on the griddle to golden brown perfection. Most importantly, where the secret recipe Cane sauce is made in restaurant every day. Make a full box combo so
Okay,
special
was
for
any-
you. Get your box combo today and make your local family.
All right,
Great
now
prices,
we're
but
back
all
up.
you need and absolutely the best service. It's the reason why everybody goes there to buy their diamonds and jewelry. Also, take advantage of their lifetime trade-in on diamonds. That's great. They've been doing that for decades. Plus, free
Hello,
service.
everybody. What a day.
While you wait, the Jewelers of Las Vegas doesn't make promises they can't keep. Never have. They've been there almost 50 years, so they'll always be there when you need them. Trust me. That's it.
All right, our technical issues on radio are fixed.
It's meant to last. Take it from me. The only place I would go in Vegas to buy diamonds or jewelry is the Jewelers of Las Vegas. Give them a call, 702.
Bill Williamson's 130.
Or go to thejewelers.com.
Yeah, let's reset the calls. Let's see what we're doing.
Hey, Danny, you're leading off. You're about 3 minutes.
Joe, be careful mocking the Raiders and making fun of them on my YouTube feed. Joe Marquez, or you'll be gone. So again, I do this for fun. It's my YouTube channel. I don't deal with a lot of, disrespect and mocking the owner, mocking me or anybody else. So you can do what you want to do, and we'll go from there. Because I like to block people. So that's it.
Donald. Good. You're going to be number 3.
What am I drinking, JT? I'm drinking a black coffee. That's the new thing for me in the new year. No cream, black coffee. I don't speak on Coward. I mean, Coward hates the Raiders. He's always hated the Raiders. I mean, again, he was replaying his monologue at the top of the hour, replaying a monologue from 2 hours ago when his friend Tom Telesco got fired. So that's all you need to know about that. We got 500 people on the YouTube. Can everybody drop a like, please? Can you please just hit like for a moment? No more Fox TV. I think Tom's getting paid a lot of money for Fox.
You by Modelo Especial, the new #1 beer in the U.S.
Dobbins in the backfield. They move a tight end to make it an I formation. A handoff up the middle through Hassan Haskins, who was playing the tight end spot, and he didn't get there. They had two in the backfield, not a tight end. It was the other running back, Hassan Haskins, the up man. Tried the middle of the field, and big John Jenkins and Caleb Jason combine on the stop.
Chason, and what he was able to do this year, did he fight for a position for next year? Well, we don't even know who the GM is yet, so the GM will evaluate it in the HUD coach. JT, back with you, brought to you by M-Ride. You know, M-Ride is the way. It's the luxury bus that the players take, and now they use it for transportation to get you to and from Allegiant Stadium. Wow. I was on it once. You can go to a hockey game with it. It's fantastic. Speaking of hockey, you got the Islanders in town and the Rangers in town. A lot of New Yorkers are in Vegas, and they like to play and gamble and be at the tables and eat Italian food. So wherever you want to go Italian, make sure you make your reservations because the New Yorkers are in town for hockey. Remember, just M-Ride it. Reserve your ride at mridelv.com. Use the promo code BRICK. Okay, so we know that the GM, Tom Telesco, is gone. We should have the ability to thank Tom, right? Tom's a good guy. There was one day in Costa Mesa, I spent a half an hour with him out on the field, just talking, getting to know him, talking about his son, who's a high school player. Wish Tom greatness. Good guy. Came from the Chargers, came here. It ended quickly. Brock Bowers will be his pick, the pick of the organization, but he was on the record for taking him. And we hope Tom will land, and Tom will probably land on a team pretty quickly here as an executive somewhere else. When it goes to the new next GM and the next hire, I mean, that's interesting sports content. Everybody wants to talk about that. So we just had a caller come in and doesn't want anything to do with the Patriots. We want other people that may want Pete Carroll, might want Ben Johnson. I don't know. But from talking to one person outside the organization today, before the show, they said this is exactly how you do it if you want to get the right hire. And the right hire is going to come in here, and he's going to be a part of the vision of it, not working for a GM who was already here, not working for this or that. That's how some sharp people in football look at it. If you're going to switch it up completely. That's kind of what they're doing. They're switching it up completely from a football operation side. I don't know what coaches will be back. There's some good coaches there. Rob Ryan's connected to Tom Brady as good as anybody. If Vrabel goes to New England, would Rob stay? I don't know. These guys they all have families. They're all trying to figure out where they're going to be next year. So think of the coaches, please, and think of their families, because I do. And we'll get an idea of what's going to happen, I think, pretty soon here. And I also know by just looking at who they're going to request for interviews, that's the real important thing. Who are they looking at? And once you see who they're requesting to talk to, I think we'll have a better idea of the direction they're going in. All right, Danny in Las Vegas. Is that Danny? Danny, start us off. What's happening?
Yeah. Hey, JP, what I'm thinking is since the Donkeys and the Chargers, they got it right? So what I'm thinking is like this. They got three Lions inside the AFC West, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think Tom Brady, smart enough to know he wants to know the Lions. That's why he wants to Bill Belichick say you got to get a Lion to beat a Lion. So I'm thinking right now that the Raiders finally got direction. They're like, you know what? We're not going to compete with somebody that's new or sometime or a quarter. I think they're going to get a big swing, and I think they're going to get it right this time. And we're going to have a direction. I think it's going to be fun. For the first time in like years, I think they're going to finally do it right. They're going to take their time and do it, and they're going to compete with Andy Reid and Jim Harbaugh and Peyton, because you got to compete with them to win a division. So it starts with beating everybody in the division and getting somebody that can do that. The only person I think that can do that is somebody with well experience and well connected. And that's all I got to say.
Yeah, good phone call. Thanks a lot for checking in. Appreciate you. 702-365-9200. To stay on the other side of this, which I'm pro Raiders. This is the Raider flagship station. If you have a problem with that, too bad. We're the station of the team. Okay, we want the team to do the right thing. And as the caller said, they have to get it right. They're doing it. They're breaking it completely down to do it in another reboot of a vision on how they want to get it right. There's a lot of people involved, from Max Crosby to the future of Brock Bowers. There's some good pieces here, and they want to do it a different way after they just evaluated that. Could they have wrote it back with Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco? Sure. And I think if they did, and we assumed after Antonio Pierce spoke on Monday and was not let go on Monday, he was let go the next day, a lot of people thought that Coach Pierce was safe. I didn't, because I knew there were a lot of people in the building evaluating that process. And we did the right thing. And we, as we always do, we wish Coach well. We did a whole show, Raiders rundown on him. As Bobby just reminded me too, we did an interview with Jason Horowitz, which I couldn't wait to play. It's gone. It was all about the future Tom Telesco, who's going to pick. Poof. That interview is gone. Can't play it, which is okay. That's what we're doing. We're doing some live content on breaking news. So when I got the call today, I was disappointed. I like Tom Telesco. He got let go. His wife's cool. She went to the same college as I. They got great kids, and he'll do great things. He'll do great things, and we wish him nothing but the best. But I think a lot of people here are understanding. I think there are more Raider fans on this topic, and I could be wrong, but I'm just seeing my chat and my Twitter and my own text messages. If we can get away from the fact that both guys who were just fired were great people, and we all are acknowledging that, I think people are understanding that this is a complete clear everything out. Brady's in the building with Mark and their new partnership, and they're looking at things differently. Can we all not embrace that? I can't get you to embrace what you don't want, but can we all acknowledge that as something that might work if it's done correctly? I had the if. It has to be done correctly. You don't get rid of a GM and a coach who are just here, that haven't been here long, unless you're swinging big, unless you're going big. Balls out, whatever term you want. They got to nail this thing, and they looked at it over the last 4 or 5 days in the building with new people involved and said, no, we're going to do it this way. What is that way? We don't know yet. We're going to find out here probably real quickly. 702-365-9200. Here's Justin in Las Vegas on 920.
Hey, JT, I just had a quick question. What are your thoughts on Ben Johnson possibly taking over the job, and if you feel like he's ready to even handle the head coaching position yet?
Great question. Stay with me. Here's why. If you want to guess and be really sharp, and I don't know what's going to happen, this move was made exactly for a guy like Ben Johnson, who is possibly skittish on Chicago because of their management, their president, their GM, blah, blah, blah. If you wanted to go to Ben Johnson and say, you're going to be the coach and you're going to have full control and you're going to help us build this going forward with the way you want to do it, that would make this type of move make sense, wouldn't it? Yeah. That's where something like this could happen, where you could look at it and say, okay, they cleared everybody out because they're meeting with people and they want to show people in those meetings. And this is just my speculation that, hey, we're going to try to do it this way, and we want your input in it. And we didn't want to do anything else until we got you. Now, usually what happens in the NFL is you bring that to a GM. Just let me give you a weird scenario. Say you went to Pete Carroll, okay, and you said, hey, Pete, here's the deal. We want you now, right now, because of where the foundation of the franchise is. We like you. You can ramp this team up. You can coach it. But we want to hire this because I, Mark, along with Tom and other people, we want to build it this way going forward. And if Pete says, oh, my God, I love that plan. Yeah, let me be the steward for this for 2 to 3 years. That could happen. Or they can go to Mike Vrabel and say, hey, Tom, you guys been at weddings together. You're best friends. We're going to have you here, Mike, but we're going to have you here because we want the vision of what we're doing now to align with you as head coach and the GM perfectly, and we want the staff to be built out this way. Can you handle this, Mike? No, I don't want to do that. I want to go back to Robert Kraft in New England. Okay, thank you. On to the next guy. But the Raiders, and unfortunately, Tom Telesco is gone and AP is gone. But I think everybody can understand when these candidates now come in for the interview, it's going to be different. And I think the candidates might like the scenario here of they having a bigger say and more control on how this thing is going to be built going forward. I would think, if I'm Steve Spagnuolo and I'm coming in here from the Chiefs, and all of a sudden you're being told in a meeting with a bunch of people that, hey, Steve, we're starting to do this with this organization that could be similar to Kansas City or what New England or Tom saw down the road. Are you on board? Are you aligned with this? Okay, then that's how we're going to do it. You're our lead candidate. But I think the caller made a good point on Ben Johnson. Because the gentleman I talked to earlier today, for clarity on this before I started the show, says that's exactly why this move, in his opinion, was made, is to clear everything out so the new candidates that you're trying to get in here want to start off with a clean slate. Even though as Raider fans, you might not want a clean slate because you like the GM and you like the former head coach. Here's Donald in California. Donald, you're up next. What's happening?
How you doing, JC? Sorry, I might be a little long-winded.
Yeah.
First, I want to say I was a big fan of Al Davis, and I was sour when the Raiders moved to Las Vegas. But I got to admit, I'm starting to become just a big Mark Davis fan because I'm a firm believer you keep swinging the axe until the tree comes down. And Mark Davis hasn't given up. He's brought in some good people. It hasn't always worked out, but he's still swinging the axe. And whatever him and Tom Brady come up with, he's got my full support. That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. There's a lot of people that will have the full support of Tom Brady and Tom Brady's opinions going forward because they know Tom Brady's got great football knowledge. And, from the seat that I'm sitting in here over at the team facility and now here at the radio headquarters of the flagship, again, whenever they bring in someone who has a really good eye of football and talent and they take over, you pull for them. Doesn't matter if it's Josh McDaniels. A lot of people struggled with that because they had Patriots derangement syndrome, like our first caller today, with all due respect. But, the people that are going to come in here are going to come in for the press conference, probably with black suits on, with silver stripes, and they're all going to have Raider pins on. And they are going to be so excited for this opportunity to take the Raiders to the next level. Then they have to do it. And you got to draft a quarterback. And you got to spend a lot of money in free agency. And I don't know, but there's a lot of money that Tom Telesco had to go spend on free agents. He will not be in charge of that part anymore. Someone else is going to come in, and that could have a lot to do. The free agent pot of gold. But, again, this is about Tom Telesco today. The show today is about wishing Tom Telesco well, like we did with Antonio Pierce earlier this week. D, how we doing in the chat, man? Fabian, what's up? We got 556 today. Remember, for those who are watching this thing build from the ground up, remember we started one day with nobody, 0. All right, so we're going to get rid of that Martinez guy for ripping on the owner. Got to be pretty stupid to do that. So we'll get rid of him. Look at that. Oh, the baller came in. My son's in here. He's cleaning house. Oh, here he goes, man. Here he goes, man. When my son comes in, he's got a big new job, man. My son's got a big job. He don't have time to look at the chat unless he sees something. He'll come in here and he'll wipe this thing clean, man. He'll bring out his bucket and mop and clean this thing up. Oh, we bringing Deion Sanders to Vegas. Hey, that's a topic on the table, as Hacksaw would say. No Deion bloodline. Isn't it amazing that someone would want Deion and then someone would not want Deion? Right? Thank you, Jess. You're doing a great job today. It's getting a little hectic in here, Jess. Right? You got phones, you got guests, you got people.
Unstoppable. Silverado. Adventurous. Fun. Techie. Trailblazer. Stylish. Nimble. Trust. Innovative. Electric. Lightning round champions.
Mark Davis is a great owner, but Mark's trying to win games, and Mark's critical to the record of. I mean, Mark's not critical. Mark is open, and here's the criticism of the record. MD has a short leash. Well, that's interesting. Hey, look, man, there are people donating money to my YouTube channel, Bobby. Wow, I appreciate that. I've never asked for anything. So anybody who puts a little tip in the tip jar, I just put it back into the channel. So if you do, like Captain Point, put $5 in, and he likes it, thank you. And that is not expected, but we appreciate it. Number 2, okay.
Was developed in the relentless pursuit of perfection. The passion for agave. It's the most awarded.
I broke some Mets news today. New York Mets are dealing with a pitcher today that I got some good news. I got some things on.
The single highest quality. 100% all natural handcrafted Palisades tequilas.
Gary at 105.
A proud partner of the JT the Brady Show. Are you looking for a better job with better pay? How about your buddy or even your spouse? Then steer yourself to Truck U CDL
By the way,
training.
you're gonna get a bunch of emails today.
January 17th.
About
All that. The UN shit.
okay.
You know, I gotta send it to you.
Without
I'm doing those after the show, so you're gonna get a shitload of them.
Did you include the final call in yet?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the final call of the loss.
The final call of the Saints game.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to make sure. Sorry for ripping that up. I'll grab that out. I mean,
That's a friend of mine.
all right, everybody can hear me. Ben Johnson. Well, look, the move is a tough one because they cleaned house at the top. Could that be to send a message to Ben Johnson? I don't know.
Tequila, the official tequila of the JT the Brick Show.
Slot to the right on 3rd down. O'Connell's throwing for Bowers. He gets away from a tackle at the 5, into the end zone. Touchdown, Brock Bowers. And if that's his last touch of his rookie year, it's a fitting grab in the end zone for a score. An historic first year for number 89, just finished off in the end zone.
All right, that's Jason Horowitz on the call on our YouTube chat. I'm reading a lot of the chats. Brian says, JT, should the Raiders keep their defensive starters? Kuntz, Spill, Trey, Epps. The depth was tested as they kept us in the game. Great question. I think the Raiders have to keep some of them. I would keep Kuntz, but it has to be on a, I think, team-friendly deal. He didn't play at all last year. So if he wanted to get rewarded, and unfortunately, I thought he would have had 12 sacks this year. He would have had 10 or more. He's a great player, but he didn't play the whole year. So do you have to reward him with a massive contract, or can he stay? And can the Raiders look at him and protect him and say, yeah, we're going to keep you here? Sure. Robert Spillane, to me, would be a lock. I would hate to lose him. Trayvon Merrick, I hope, comes back. I think he is a reliable safety in this league, and you need reliable safeties. I don't know about Epps coming off the injury and what the future of Epps is going to bring. Thor in Summerlin, man, Raider Nation Drinking Club, man. This week will make you think twice, man. There's a lot of moves going on here. Thor, how do you see it?
JT, what's happening, my brother? It is what it is. I wish AP and Tom Telesco well. Once a Raider, always a Raider. for my feeling, I feel like maybe they didn't get a fair shake, but it's not my fair shake to give. I'm not the owner of the team. It's not my call. But I know they came in here and they took their shot and did what they did. Life is not always fair, so take your shot and go with it. And I'm sure that they'll land on their feet somewhere. And I just hope and pray whoever comes in here can get us going in the right direction. Me personally, I like a lot of the older names, but I want young, new, fresh minds in the game. The game is always changing, so I feel like I'm older. I'm getting older, and I'm not always up on what's going on in the world around me. Like, these young kids know what's going on. I don't always know. And I feel like it's the same way a little bit in the NFL. As much as everything stays the same, there's also things that are constantly moving and changing. And we have to move and change and adapt and bring in young, fresh blood is how I feel. So I don't know who that is. That's not my job, though. Just whoever it is, let's get it done.
All right. Thanks, Laura. Appreciate it. The team won 4 games. Right, everybody? The team won 4 games. The football operation side's going to change. If it didn't change and the gentleman came back, the coach and the GM, everybody would have gotten line behind it and hope for a better year next year and a draft and all of that with Tom Brady involved in some capacity. We all know, big boy radio, that there's been changes with ownership, minority owners, new voices who are not consultants, they're owners. They're not the majority owner. It is all Mark Davis making all Mark's decisions and trying to make the decisions he wants for Raider Nation going forward. Why do you think Mark's making all these decisions? He's not happy with the results. And the buck stops with him, and he tells everybody that. But he's trying to get this right. And this is another bold move, like it or not. And we'll see how it plays out. Gary Lawless is going to join us for a few minutes at the top of the hour. Vegas has the best team in all of hockey. And then we'll get back to the Raiders breaking news. Brought to you by Virgin Hotels, Las Vegas.
Attention plumbers, HVAC, DIYers, and construction.
All right, I got some time here now, man. I got some time here. Thank you for the tip jar. Appreciate it. Like if I was a performer and I played a guitar in a coffee shop and had a tip jar, would everybody come down and drop a couple bucks in the tip jar? Yes. I don't want that here or expect anybody to do it because I get compensated. But this is how this YouTube thing works, so appreciate it. I am bummed out that Tom Telesco's gone because I like Tom a lot. And again, I hope everybody understands, man, this happens to every guy like me on every radio station in America. You lose someone who works for the team, man. It's tough. You want those people to do well. So I'm hoping to reach out to Tom Telesco after the show.
For over 85 years, Labor's Local 872 and Las Vegas have teamed up to change the world of entertainment, sports, and economic development.
All right. We need a running back and a wide receiver. Jody Montez. I agree, Jody. We need a wide receiver. You know, think of Brock Bowers as a wide receiver now. He's putting up wide receiver numbers like Darren Waller did, Hunter Renfrow did, slot receiver, tight ends, wide receivers. But I would agree. We, Raider Nation, needs a wide receiver 1. You can get them in college. Problem is, if you're going to get a wide receiver 1 in the draft, you got to use that 6th pick overall. You want to use that for a guy who might get 5 targets a game because Brock is getting 15? How about that? Do you want to get a wide receiver 1 in the draft who might not get 7 targets a game because of Michael Mayer, Jacoby Myers, and Brock Bowers? It's something to bring up. Will Anderson, the cornerback out of Michigan, a lot of people are comparing him to the great Charles Woodson. Not so fast, my friend. I don't compare anybody to Charles Woodson. Nobody. All right. This was a very interesting week. Wouldn't you all say? That's why we love this YouTube, the bricklayers here. We're all going through this live. The Antonio Pierce unfortunate news broke while we were live in the chat here. And today I heard about this about maybe 10 minutes before Ian Rappaport and Schefter, and someone asked me, why didn't I break the news first? I don't do that. Raiders didn't put it out. I wasn't going to put it out. Might have to ban Joe. Why am I banning Joe? What is Joe doing? Is Joe being a comedy guy, or is Joe just being? Bring back Luke Getsy. What else is Joe saying? Oh, is Joe an infiltrator from outside? Big D, should I get rid of this Joe guy? They're telling me to get rid of Joe. Free Joe.
Again, voicemail below.
Okay. Hold on, let me make sure I got the right number. Oh, it might. No, try 274. You got the 274 number? Cool. The Bricktator. Hey, you better like hockey, man. You can't be a grown-ass man or lady and not like hockey. Get the best bleeping hockey team in the sport. We're going to spend 10 minutes on that. Don't bail. We'll get right back to football.
It's the JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Finley Cadillac Performance Studio.
Raiders bring a blitz. He takes it off the middle, and he's wrapped up from behind. Max Crosby.
Your silver and black home to sound off for over 20 years.
Open at the 35, racing to the 20, 10, touchdown Raiders.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
Out of the gate, hour number 2 of the show, JT in Vegas. Big crew hanging out on our live YouTube stream at JT the Brick YT and on the Raiders mobile app, where you can hear us like Keith does in London right now, where you can hear us loud and clear on the mobile app. And Gary Lawless, our friend, joins us, the great broadcaster for the Vegas Golden Knights, and he was there and he's not there. And we'll get him up here momentarily. We're going to talk about the best team in all of hockey. The best team in all of hockey is the Vegas Golden Knights. And they're playing the Islanders and the Rangers here in Vegas with the weather great. You can go outside and drink and have a good time. And I'm thrilled by this because I'm going to the Ranger game. I might even go tonight. I might even slide by. But we got Gary Lawless. And Gary, before we get going, the Raiders just fired their GM. And you were the only guest I wouldn't consider moving because we have the best team in all of hockey. How are you, Gary?
Yeah, I'm good, JT. How about you, bud?
Hey, real interesting on this Raider news. I want to tie it into hockey when you're just so good at this nationally. When you let go of a coach and a GM at the same time, a lot of people look and speculate, well, you're trying to bring in a new vision and you want the coach and the new GM to work together and be on the same page. How does that work in hockey where head coaches seem to get fired regularly?
Yeah, GMs don't the GM doesn't change very often in hockey, and a lot of that is because a plan starts, and it takes a while for a plan to, if you're trying to rebuild, it takes 3, 4, 5 seasons. You've got to be bad for a while to get draft picks, and then so changing the general manager's really got to be in lockstep with the owner. And the best way for me to address this is with the Golden Knights. So Bill Foley and George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon, they're aligned. They have a vision. Bill is part of it. They work on it together. He's kept abreast of everything. He knows what the team is doing. And then they took them a while to find the guy where they could have perfect alignment. Both Gerard Gallant and Pete DeBoer are really good coaches, but it wasn't the synchronicity that was required wasn't as the watch just wasn't running as smooth as it needed to. And now with Bruce Cassidy,
This is a Rolex. It clicks on time all the time, and everybody knows what everybody's doing. It's hand in glove. Decisions aren't made, in one. There's no silos here.
Mm-hmm.
The decisions are made. It's a flat organization where the decisions are made. Everybody's in the room and they agree on it. And at a certain point in time, Kelly and George hand the roster over to Bruce and say, "Do your thing."
Mm-hmm.
Bruce isn't during a game. Bruce is coaching to win, and he's relying on his instincts and nothing else. But in terms of building the team, how the team is going to play, Bruce has a vision. He works with Kelly and George on that, and they get the players that fit that. And this is the Golden Knights are a shining example of this. They're one of the most winning teams in hockey in professional sport since they joined the NHL in 17-18, and right now, in their last 21 games, they're 17-3-1 in their last 21. That's an .825 points percentage. They've won 9 of their last 10, 3 in a row. They are, as the kids like to say, a wagon.
Gary Lawless is our guest. So since I last talked to you, why is this happening with the strength of schedule, the opponents, the health of the team, the chemistry of the lines, and, of course, the goaltending? Is this about as good as you've ever seen it? Because the team's been to 2 cups and won 1, and this team is being compared in the regular season to one of the best teams we've seen in their short existence.
Yeah, so the best the Golden Knights have ever played was the way they were playing on their run of the Stanley Cup, when they won the Stanley Cup. They went to 6 with Edmonton, and really when that series was over, I was like, who's going to beat them? And, they were up on Dallas. Dallas climbed back in with, and won 2 in a row. And then game 6, Vegas ran them out of the rink. Like, they destroyed them. And then they beat Florida in 5, and they could have swept that series. And the thing that players told Kelly McCrimmon, like when he walked into the dressing room with the champagne and the Stanley Cup flowing, and the Stanley Cup up on the table, like they said to him, "Who's next?" Like if he could have got on the phone with the best team of the world, best team in Russia, and said, "Hey, let's we'll fly over there tomorrow. Let's play," they would have gone and they would have beat them. Like they were not ready to stop. So that's the best the team has ever played. And it's hard to compare a playoff team to a regular season team. But as far as regular season teams go, this is right there. This team's right there with the team from 17-18. And the team tied with Colorado for the President's Cup in terms of points a few seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado won based on, the tiebreaker, but Vegas had the same number of points as them. So they've had some really good regular season teams. This team is dominant.
Gary Lawless, the great broadcaster from the Golden Knights and the national insider for hockey from Canada to Russia to all points in between. Brilliant to have him on. So the team of my youth, the Islanders have 37 points and the Rangers have 38. What's going on with New York hockey here? The Devils are playing better in the tri-state, but Islanders, Rangers really struggling, and we get them back to back.
Yeah, well, Vegas is taking care of business against teams with sub 500 records. They're 11-0-1 against teams that have records, that are 500 or worse. So the Islanders and the Rangers both fall into that category. They should look out. Like this, one of the things Bruce said was, last year, Vegas lost to Buffalo last year, Philadelphia, Arizona. They dropped games to teams, Chicago, teams below them in the standings that they should have beat, and that really cost them in terms of where they finished in the regular season. Bruce said the other day after they beat San Jose, he said, what the players are really driving this right now. Something will happen in a game, and I'm about to address it on the bench. And before I can start to talk, one of the veterans is already talking about it out loud to the whole team. And that's, that great expression. Good teams have leadership at the coaching and management level. Bad teams don't have any leadership. Great teams have leadership from the players.
And that's, Eichel, Stone, McNabb, Petrangelo, Carlson. I'm going to miss somebody. They've got veteran guys that know how to win, know how to play the right way, know what it looks like. And when it's not the way it's supposed to look like, they're addressing it. That may be more than anything else. Obviously, this team is talented. Kelly McCrimmon has brought in really good players. This team is big. This team has good goaltending. But the fact that the players have decided to put their hands on the steering wheel this early, that's a really good sign.
Gary Lawless, one more. When you travel with this team, I love your traveling because you're vibrant with fans in other communities. You look at the rink, you look at the crowd, how many Vegas Golden Knight fans are on the road, how many fans come in. Like I said before you came on, the New Yorkers are in town. Watch out. They want every Italian restaurant booked. They're going to be drinking right there at T-Mobile Plaza. They're coming in. When you look out at the fans globally when they're on the road or they're at home there, what can you tell us from a fan perspective about the VGK fans and how they're doing this year?
They're doing great. They continue to travel well.
Nice.
It's always fun to, Dan Dubin and I get up there in the booth before the game starts and we look around and how many gold jerseys do we see? And, warm up is fun to watch in opposing rinks because the fans get up there and cheer on the players. And of course, when they sing the Star Spangled Banner, when they get through, gave proof through the night, there's always a loud night in other buildings. So, this is the best fan base in hockey. I say that with no disrespect to the original six fans, the fans in the Northeast, the fans in the Midwest. Obviously there's good fans at lots of places. It's still the best building in the NHL, the best building in the world to watch hockey. And the fans are a huge part of it. I always say this. You go to a Golden Knights game and you watch the fans, they sing and dance like nobody's watching. It's like you in the shower, JT, belting out Barry Manilow like no one can hear you as you're scrubbing your hair.
Well,
it's I just gave the listeners a great image. I apologize for that, folks.
Please. When I was going to say this, I have a room in my house that's an indoor-outdoor room, which is great for wine and music. And I'm going to have you and your lovely bride over. And I mean, quickly, we got to do this. We've been talking about this too long. And as I told you, I'm going through this really big tragically hip run in my life where I'm listening to the hip. I'm listening to a lot of hip. I'm watching a lot of documentaries. I'm going through a big Gord session in my life, and I'm just loving where I'm at because now I know the songs, I know the playlists, and when you come over, I'll have the hip cranking.
Well, the great debate, and we'll have to have this, who is the greatest Gord? Gordon Lightfoot? Gord Downey.
I'm going to go Gord Downey. I'm in a big Gord run right now, especially the way he handled knowing that he was going to pass away. I went through that with my mentor who I wrote my book about. When you know you're going to pass away and you can act that great with grace and dignity and still be brave enough to go out on a final tour the way Gord and the Hip did, I can't stop watching the documentary. That was beautiful as that band came together as they were losing their frontman and their brother.
I saw the show, the show in Winnipeg. They toured Canada that last summer of his life, and the show in Winnipeg. I took a couple of good friends, and it was amazing to me. I had never been in a public setting where grown men and women were openly weeping.
Yeah.
And they knew they were losing a huge piece of their life. And I just watched the latest documentary. I can't think of the name of it, but it was all about the rise of the tragically hip, what they went through, their decision not to, they toured in the U.S. and they sold tickets at small clubs, and then they wanted them to cut an album that would sort of lead them to more commercial success in the U.S. And it wasn't their sound, and they wouldn't do it. True artists and lots of great music there. What's your favorite song?
I got a lot. I'm going to send you my text message to you right after this. But
All right.
I love whenever you can talk about one of the great Maple Leaf teams of all time and an unfortunate event that surrounded that. That's where I'm leaning towards. I'll see you in the building, not tonight, but I'm coming in for the Ranger game, even though I was born an Islander fan. But the Raiders are calling me here. Thanks for coming on, my friend.
All right. Goodbye.
There he is. That is Gary Lawless, as we're getting back to the breaking news on Tom Telesco being let go. And again, I went to 54 Rush concerts and they're from there. And Gary put me on the spot. I got about 4 or 5 great Tragically Hip songs that I'm going to give him and text him right now. But that's a new band. It's not a new band, but it's a new band for America to take a look at if you haven't seen him. I've seen the band and Gord Downey, who passed away. And I'm a big New Orleans is Sinking fan with that song. And we're going to New Orleans, and I'm going to kind of reroute where I'm going in New Orleans because of what the Tragically Hip did there. All right, let's jump in. And again, when I started the show today, we booked Gary Lawless yesterday and today because we didn't think Tom Telesco was getting let go today. He did. That's the breaking news. A lot of people are tuning in for that. We're wishing Tom well and his family. He's a great man, and he did a lot for the Raiders, clearly in this last draft, and we wish him nothing but the best. Roy in California. Roy, thanks for waiting. You're up next. Go ahead.
How's it going, JT?
I'm doing great.
For
Thanks.
having me on, man.
Appreciate it.
So first and foremost, like you just addressed, prayers to Coach AP and Tom Telesco. Appreciate their services for the Raider Nation. You know, we understand it's a business. But at the same time, too, you got to show quality. And if it's not there, then I get what Tom Brady and Mark Davis are doing. I'm all ears for it. I know I've been a Raider fan for about 35 years, as old as I am. And basically, I'm ready for a real change, man. It's a roller coaster right now, and it's kind of a headache. And I mean, I've been through it, you know, up and down since you know we've been going through it since what John Gruden, and then McDaniels.
Mm-hmm.
Now this, you know, it's kind of annoying, you know. But I'm excited. I'm jazzed up. I think we should really go for Ben Johnson as the coach, and I'm saying right now Robert Saleh as the coordinator.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Thanks for the call. That's kind of where we want to go. Going on now is what are the Raiders going to do for head coach and GM, and understanding that this is a puzzle, right? We're trying to put a puzzle together because we're not in the office with Mark Davis. We're not on the phone with Tom Brady, but we can all assume that they're doing something that is going to be bold and be drastically different. Could Tom Telesco have been a part of that? Sure. I'm not saying he couldn't have been. Could Antonio Pierce coach the team with the players that they were going to bring up next year? Yeah, no doubt. But they're doing something different. And I can't say if it's unique or how it looks until we see it. So, but it's good for radio content. But I'm not a believer, never have been. And this is important if you want to clip something off the show. I've never been a believer in doing a radio show celebrating anybody getting fired. Social media is all about that, right? So you got people that are trying to become famous and cut the line in media. They're trying to cut the line. They don't want to do it 30 years like I have. They want to do it in 3. And what they're doing is they're just putting up reels and podcasts, and this guy sucks, and he should be fired, and this and all that, because they just want to, you know, just be lunatics and step on people's livelihoods. So I know how to do this show today. I didn't have to get an email from my bosses. I didn't have to sit down and be pulled into a room for 20 minutes saying, be careful today. I've been down this road. I don't know of anybody who's had the opportunity to have the interaction that I've had with so many coaches. I wish it was just 2, right? If it was just 2 coaches, if Gruden the first time never left, right? Well, a Hall of Famer, or, you know, they bring in a coach, you know, Art Shell comes back, and instead of being here a few years, he's here 20 years or 10 years, whatever. That's what you want. You don't want turnover. But sometimes turnover happens because there are new eyeballs and new ears and new voices in the room. And that's obviously what's happening now. Obviously what is happening now. And we know that. And we want to see it. Like someone saying on the chat, Matt Millen was a bad GM in Detroit. Okay. Matt Millen's one of the sharpest football minds I've ever seen. If you had to sit down, if you asked me to sit in a room for 20 minutes and I can bring anybody in the world, like a Mount Rushmore, I'd bring Matt Millen in the room just to talk football. Didn't work out in Detroit. Okay, doesn't mean he isn't a great man, great evaluator. For Tom Telesco, he only had one draft in Las Vegas. He brought in Brock Bowers, DJ Glaze, Jackson Powers Johnson. Mike Mayock's draft with Max Crosby, or looking at certain players that came in under certain GMs and head coaches, you might find a diamond in the rough, right? And you're hoping that happens here. So that's where we're at today. It's a Tom Telesco show. That's the way you take the high road. You call in and you say, hey, thanks, Tom. It's unfortunate that you're gone, but man, we really like what you did, and we wish you nothing but the best. Saul is out in Long Beach, California, which is not in the fire zone, right, Saul? But you're probably getting smoke?
No, Charles, JT.
Charles.
Sorry, yeah. No, I'm not near the fires, but first of all, I just want to say thank you to Tom and AP. I thought they did an okay job with what they were dealt, but let's be real. As Raider fans, this is embarrassing. How many years are we going to have to keep going through this year after year after coach after coach? There's no stability in this organization.
Do you think that Tom Brady's coming in with Mark Davis here to give you no stability for the next 2 or 3 years? If you're pissed off, hold on. If you're pissed off at the lack of stability in the past, I understand you. But why do you think they're doing this? To make it more unstable or to get it right, Charles?
There's no saying Tom Brady. This is the first year Tom Brady's ever doing this. Who's to say he's going to get it right?
Okay, well
right?
then why did Tom Brady buy the team? Why did Tom Brady buy into the team then? Or do you think he just did it to buy yachts?
No, I want this team and organization to be great, just like everyone else. I'm at work right now in full Raider gear.
Okay.
Sitting here looking like a clown because we just fired Tom after yesterday we fired AP, and they told us Tom was safe.
Who told you Tom was safe? The owner?
That was all the reports yesterday. Tom was staying.
From who? Who are the reports told you he was safe?
I don't know. It's just what you see online.
Well, you saw stuff online. But, the Raiders. That's why the Raiders don't put out a statement until after the Raiders put out a statement on who's here and who's gone. I appreciate you wearing Raider gear to work and calling my show. I really do. I appreciate it. But to call in and say, okay, they're going to make a move here because they want to be unstable again. I mean, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to fix what they believe is wrong. And a lot of people think Tom Telesco would have been the guy to get it right. And that's why we understand how you feel. Because Tom Telesco had some people quickly who bought into his vision of the draft, especially the first round of the draft. So there are big decisions being made way over my head. And also over the head of Paul Gutierrez, Vinny Bonsignore, Vic Tafer, and everybody else. James Jones, Amber Theo Harris, Eric Allen, right? All I'm focused on right now is Eric Allen to the Hall of Fame in the next 2 weeks. EA didn't call me this morning at 8 a.m. saying, wow, I wonder if they're going to fire Tom Telesco. None of us knew. These are decisions that were made in the last 24 hours. And they're hard decisions. And it makes for a hard radio show. It really does. But that's what I get paid to do. And it's not my first rodeo. We want to get it right. And it's not going to be perfect. We're going to talk to Bill Williamson coming up here in a few minutes. Bill is the longest tenured Raider insider, covering the Raiders longer than anybody. And he has strong opinions. And I'm not saying I disagree or agree with all of them, but he's going to tell us what he thinks coming up. I don't think you want to miss that. If you want to dive in, it's a better time for you to go on the YouTube feed. We got hundreds upon hundreds of people watching the show today. Numbers spike, Bobby, when people get fired. I don't like that. I don't want my numbers to spike because people got fired, but people want to tune in and hear what we have to say. And today we're trying to tell you, some unique things, but we do not have the answers to all of this. This is breaking news today. Raising Cane's is the official chicken fingers of the Vegas Golden Knight, serving hot, fresh, cooked-to-order chicken fingers. Game day tastes better with Raising Cane's tailgates full of hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers. I love the crispy, crinkled-cut fries, the buttery Texas toast. I go lemonade. My wife goes iced tea. We love Raising Cane's. The box combo lives at my house. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love, official partner of the Vegas Golden Knights. When we come back, we'll jump in with the great, and I mean great, Bill Williamson, because he's sharp. He's been doing this a long time. We'll hear what he has to say. I apologize to all of our guests. Lee Sterling, we had to move. We had to move a lot of people this week who were scheduled to be on. And tomorrow, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but we're going to be here And we're always going to give you the best with passion and energy live on the flagship of the Silver and Black. Snow Raider, what's happening, man? Hey, I wanted to take a moment here to talk about the fires. My wife and I have been watching the fires. So just a quick story. The guy that I co-authored my book with my name, The Handoff. If you didn't get it, it's at Amazon.com. The guy who wrote the book in my voice is a guy by the name of Alan Eisenstock. Alan, Eisenstock. He's written like 18, 19 books. And he's a dear friend. And his house in the Pacific Palisades is where I would drive from Vegas to LA, and we'd work on the book. And I'd spend 6, 7, 8 hours a day in his home, a beautiful cottage house, well over $1 million house in Palos Verdes, right off the village there. And if you saw the village of Palos Verdes today or yesterday, it's Armageddon. It looks like Ukraine being bombed. It's gone. And Alan and I would work on the book for 6, 7 hours, and he'd go, let's go get a coffee. And we'd leave his house, and we'd make a left and a right, and we'd be in the village. Well, anyway, I talked to him yesterday, and we were texting, and he lost his home. And last I remembered when I was in there a couple of years ago, he had hundreds of books, if not 1,000 books. And he had 5 minutes to evacuate his house. So, we sit here and we talk about GMs getting fired and football players getting hurt, and I get it. But, man, I got a heavy heart because a good friend of mine lost his life materially, not his family, his wife. He's got kids, he's got grandkids, but he lost his home where he's been his whole life, where his kids grew up, where his grandkids were playing 2 weeks ago. And there's a lot of that happening, man. There's a lot of that going on right now. And I'm just devastated for Palos Verdes. A beautiful beachfront community gone, just like Lahaina in Maui, a place that I've been to many times. So we're going to get that in. I don't have it.
I'm going to send that 30 to them. I'll see if that's.
Yeah, whatever.
You might have to re-record, but I'm going to send it to them. It's going to be Crosby 100 tackles coming back. We're going to call Williamson in a minute.
Okay.
Compliance and inspections, because that's what you should expect from a trusted business partner. Find out how to have pro move management work for you. Visit our website at pgmlg.com to receive a free cost savings analysis now.
I think I those 3 cuts you wanted this morning too. Cronin, Henry.
Yeah. Okay. Appreciate that. Bricklayers, look at this. Appreciate it. Please hit subscribe. And please share and hit the like button. Appreciate you. Yeah, I'm going to mention that when we come out here about the people that lost their homes and all that. How we doing on Bill? Okay.
For a quick phone interview. 702-925-0000.
I hit 100 golf balls today, and I know it was 100 because I hit 10 balls for each club that I wanted to hit other than my driver. Trying to chip the ball better, man. That 20-yard chip, it's my nemesis, man. Trying to chip, keep my head down, get the ball going forward, not angling, not breaking my wrist. Tough shot, man. Been driving it well, man. I can't chip.
Here we go.
Thank you for doing that, Tony. Delivering oxygen for the seniors that were.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by the Casa Verde Law Group. If you get injured in an accident,
And I meant Palisades, not Palos Verdes. Palos Verdes.
loss. That is number 100 in his career. He joins J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, and DeMarcus Ware as the only players with 100 tackles for loss in their first 6 years.
It's Jason Horowitz on the call. Mad Max, JT, back with you. As we were in the YouTube chat, I was telling everybody I have a heavy heart for everybody in the Pacific Palisades that lost their house, all throughout the region in Southern California. The co-author of my book, The Handoff, Alan Eisenstock, an acclaimed writer who's written over 18 books, wrote Elgin Baylor's life story, big books. And I was happy that he was the co-author of my book. He lost his entire house. Everything's gone. And I was in that house. I dictated my book to him. We sat there for hours daily. And then we'd walk to the Starbucks and everything's gone. Everything's gone. And I wanted to bring that up because there's a couple of people out there, and the Pacific Palisades is a place I spent a lot of time with my kids. We'd go to the beach down there, Will Rogers and all that. And I know we have a lot of listeners, a lot of Raider Nation in that region. Bill Williamson joins us, the longest tenured Raider insider. So, Bill, were you shocked by this news, or do you believe the Raiders are clearing everything out to make this position maybe more attractive to a head coach?
Well, JT, I think the answer to that is yes. To both takes on that. I am shocked because, it was reported shortly after Pierce was fired, less than 48 hours before this happened, that he was safe, and there was no indication to think that he wasn't. With Mark Davis, the only time Mark Davis has talked during this whole process was at the owners' meeting in December, and he said he was going to evaluate both Pierce and Telesco both separately because they were hired separately. That's fine. But, he was kind of iffy on Pierce, but he was very complimentary of Telesco. Said he actually said he's done a good job. He was happy with the draft picks. He went and talked about the quarterback plan for this offseason. He said talk to Telesco. So it seemed like he was leaning towards that. But something changed in the last 24 hours or so, and I think it's because they want to line up. They probably got a couple coaches in mind that they really want to make this attractive to, so they made that decision. I think they should have done both of this on Monday, not even Tuesday. Make the decision separately, but get this process going as quickly as you can, and also show to everybody involved, the people that are still in the building and the people that you may want to bring into the building, that we have a cohesive plan. And this wasn't a cohesive plan in the last 48 hours. Can they make up for it? Sure, but it's just kind of a not so clean look to start this process, which is the third time in 3 years they're hiring a coach and a general manager. And people who are going to be interviewing for these jobs are going to have those questions.
Bill Williamson's our guest. In your column today at silverandblackpride.com, you said no downplaying Brady's role. Let's get into that. Everybody understands Tom Brady is not a consultant. He's an owner. He's a minority owner that's got a big chunk of money in this deal with his group here, and he's the most decorated football player of all time. What do you suspect is happening with Tom Brady behind the scenes?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, he has a big chunk of money, but it's still a small percentage of the franchise. So I think, we're going to see a minority owner have the most pull we've ever seen in the NFL, at least, that I can recall. Yeah, I mean, this is obvious. This is obvious that he has a huge voice in this. And it's going to be really interesting. And I wrote that, not only does he have power, but now he has pressure, because if this next hire doesn't work out, it's not only on Davis, it's on Brady, because he's a big part of it. It's pretty fascinating.
Bill Williamson joins us. You also said the reset could be an advantage. We're the flagship of the team, and we hope there's an advantage. We're here in a partnership for the team and the team to win. So if you look at what's going to happen here with the reset, what needs to happen? Because I've been preaching, it has to be close to perfect. I mean, and nothing's perfect in life, especially in football, but they have to hire a GM, a head coach, draft a quarterback, in my opinion, a really good one, And then they got a lot of money to spend in free agency, and they got to sign the players that they're going to have to evaluate. And Telesco spent a lot of time evaluating the players who are just currently on this roster. How do they thread the needle and do it better than ever?
Yeah, I mean, look at it. It's simple. They got to get it right. They're still reeling from the decision to bring in Ziegler and McDaniels 3 years ago, and that was supposed to be the answer. And, that's why I know it's going to happen. Whoever they hire, there's going to be new hope and excitement, and, hey, that happens. But you have to show it. At some point, you have to show it. They can't go ahead and do this again in 2 or even 3 years. They have to get this. This is the group that has to get this team on the right track, and it's a long track to go. And the AFC West is tough, and this wasn't a fluke that they're looking at. They're making all these changes this week, and the 3 other teams in the division are making preparations to play a game. So they have a lot of work to do, and I just, if they're banking on Tom Brady's cachet, well, you better get it right, because I know that, Ben Johnson would be a nice addition. There's no guarantee about any coach, but guys like him have had recent success. Younger offensive guys,
Yeah.
McVay, Shanahan, O'Connell now, So if they're saying, okay, hey, we're cleaning the slate, and maybe you can bring in your own GM, maybe, or somebody that you like, okay, that's cool, because the 3 other teams that he's interviewing with so far, Chicago, New England, and Jacksonville, I believe it is, they all have GMs in place. So that's where I talk about that advantage. This could be a clean slate. But here's the other thing those 3 teams have. They have a quarterback.
Sure.
And I think he's going to care more about a quarterback than a GM. So the Raiders got to hope that that's their advantage, So if he's the guy. But, I mean, there's other guys. But I just don't know if Steve Spagnuolo, a guy who's had an 11-41 record as an NFL head coach, Robert Saleh. I don't know if guys like that, who, although they're attractive in their own ways, I don't know if you fired the GM to make it more attractive for those guys. So, but maybe they got somebody else. Maybe this is a plea to Vrabel. Hey, give us a chance, because he's in the building in New England. Maybe it's a play to Belichick. Hey, we know the door's open for you. Who knows? But there's obviously something going on. There's something greater at play at this, because Tom Telesco didn't necessarily do a bad job.
No.
You really can't say he got a fair shake here. So he's kind of, collateral damage here. So they're opening the door for something, and they got to get that plan. They got to figure that plan out, and they have to execute it.
Bill Williamson, Silver and Black Pride. Go check it out. He's got great insight and content. And I want to stay on what you said about that with Ben Johnson, because that's the pitch. The only pitch that you could really make that's kind of obvious, even though we don't know who's in the room with Mark Davis, everyone, is that they're trying to clean it out to impress a candidate to want to come in there. And you mentioned Ben Johnson, and we know for a fact that Chicago's front office looks toxic and unprepared and not connected. You mentioned Jacksonville, which was beautiful because of Trent Baalke. How is he not fired after all the other coaches and the Urban Meyer disaster, the Urban Meyer move, and then what just happened with the failure of Peterson? He's still there. So I don't think Ben Johnson's going to want that. And I love the Jaguars roster. I think the Jaguar roster is really good. And then finally, if you go to Woody Johnson and the Jets, and you don't know what's going to happen with Rodgers or Devontae and all that, maybe whoever makes the decision, Bill, to come to the Raiders is going to say, wow, okay, I can help be in the room after they hire me with rebuilding everything in my likeness. That makes some sense to me.
Yeah, but then then something happens like with last year with Pierce being hired before Telesco. I think this needs to happen together.
Yeah, it will.
I mean, there wasn't a lot of great things to say about Ziegler and McDaniels era, but they were hired together. As soon as Ziegler was hired, it was immediately known that it was McDaniels, and that's one of the reasons why Ziegler was hired in the first place. He was really kind of second fiddle to McDaniels. So I think because of this situation, this has to be a little similar to that. This doesn't mean it's going to fail. Those guys fail because they made decisions they made moving forward. But I think that is kind of the model here.
Hey, Bill, last one. What do you think? Because you've been around here doing this a long time. What do you think's the more important hire, the GM or the head coach?
Right now, I mean, the way this happened this week, I think it's the head coach.
Yeah.
But the GM is the one trying to figure out the quarterback.
Yeah.
So I'm not downplaying that at all. That's why I think it's going to be, needs to be kind of a package deal.
Yeah, I think you're nailing that. I think that's the way this looks, but we don't know.
They started a head coaching process 2 days ago, right? So if they felt the GM was the most important thing, they would have started that first,
right?
Or at least at the same time. So yeah, it's interesting, and it's no sure thing, and it's a pretty tough task for Davis and Brady, and they got to get it right. But this is what they want to do. And again, I was on your show about a month ago, and just because Tom Brady, and this is no disrespect to him, and this is no thinking I don't have confidence in him, but just because he was a great player, the greatest athlete, professional athlete, most accomplished professional athlete I've ever seen, doesn't mean he's going to do well in this position.
Yeah.
So I think people need to realize that and you know, is Ben Johnson going to be okay? Well, Tom Brady, you know, he's a rookie at this, so we just don't know.
Yeah. Bill, last one. Do you think it's important this moves quickly or slowly?
I don't know. I mean, quickly if you want Grable.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Quickly if you want Johnson, but I don't know. I mean, you just gotta. You don't want to do it too quick, and you don't want to do it too slow. You know.
I know it's complicated. That's why we have you on. Bill will be looking. What are you going to be writing about here? I know you're on the phone all day. You got a lot of sources around the league. What's the next story you're kind of framing together as we speak?
Well, I think it's probably got to be a look at GM candidates, and I think that's tricky, JT, because we don't know what the direction they want to go in as far as formula. Do they want to pair guys together, which I think they probably do, or do they want to get guys that may not know each other? So the GMs, and the good thing for them, there's only two other GM jobs open right now, Tennessee and the Jets, and they've gotten a jump on the Raiders, but there's not an over amount of competition there. So, you know, if they're just going for the best available guy, they can do that. But I think we're looking at guys with connections together, you know?
Yeah, some type of connection. Bill, will follow you, everything you're doing. I'll have you on as soon as there's more breaking news. Thank you for today.
Hey, thank you.
Bill Williamson, covering the Raiders, silverandblackpride.com. That last question I asked, I thought was the most important. How fast do you want this to be and how slow do you want it to be? And he jumped right in and said, if you want Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel, you better be quick. Now, if you don't want those two gentlemen, you want someone else, and you want this to play out and play out and play out. Again, all I can do is guess, assume, and know Mark the way I know Mark. And I was getting to know Tom Telesco. I was getting to know Coach Pierce because I sat down with him so much. There's new people coming in. There's new ownership, minority owners. There are more people coming in now that have comments that Mark is listening to, and Mark is looking at this differently. And Mark gave everybody talked to Vinny Bonsignor and the guys, everybody who was there at the owners meeting in Dallas, and he made it clear that it was going to be evaluation. And if you think the evaluation process was clunky, that's fair. If you think it should have been Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce the same moment, well, maybe that's not how it worked out. Maybe they went in there and they wanted to keep them both. How about that? Maybe they went into all those meetings that went late into the night, and everybody was on the same page and they kind of wanted to keep them, but then the phone rang and they started a different conversation. Oh, and there's a candidate that they think they might get, but they have to kind of clear it out to do that. Doesn't that sound like what's happened? Like potentially, maybe, that they were making a lot of decisions because they wanted to kind of keep it, roll it back. And then the next thing you know, a couple other voices come in, newer voices saying, no, we should look to do it this way. This is the right way to do it at this time. Don't know. We're going to find out. It's all going to come out when I get a chance to sit down and talk to more people about it in the building. But for today, we're thanking Tom Telesco like we thanked Antonio Pierce. We did a big show, Raiders Rundown. yesterday. Was it yesterday? It was yesterday, right?
I think so,
Yeah, it was yesterday. So when I left the building yesterday and I came home and I was talking to my wife, I'm like, okay, that was big because we were lucky and fortunate that they picked me to anchor that whole thing. And we had Amber Theo Harris on and Jason Horowitz and Vinny Bonsignor and Paul Gutierrez. I think everyone we talked to, everyone mentioned Tom Telesco and the picks going forward. And that's why you do a podcast the next day and the day after that, and you archive it because times change, things move. All right, when we come back, now we got to get to Nash in Houston. Nash, thanks for waiting. Go ahead.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. You thought this was an important offseason before all the changes. Now it's even more so. But I think we'll look back on Tom with fondness. I think this was our best draft and off-season class since 2014 when we got Derek and Khalil Mack and Gabe Jackson. So I think we'll look back years from now and say, man, this was a good foundational draft. But there is no doubt that with the decks cleared, this is a much more appealing job. And I think just the conversation you were just having just a moment ago, again, if Ben Johnson's your guy, a name I'll throw out there is Ray Askew, who's the, assistant GM in the Detroit Lions.
Right.
Then that's the guy that they're not necessarily hired together. They know each other. They got a relationship. And then you're saying, hey, this is a 4-year deal. It's a rebuild. We're taking it down to studs, but we're not trading Max Crosby because I don't want to see like Khalil Mack 7 years later, he's still a stud. But other than that, it's a rebuild, but we're going to give you 4 years. You got a guy that you trust as the GM, and that way we can go out and make good changes. So I think that's an important part of that. And it'll be interesting now because whoever comes in, all these free agents that are on our squad now that we wanted back, they may or may not want them. So, some guys like Malcolm Coons I'd love to have back. Spillane, who I'd love to have back. The safety who I'd love to have back. They come back too. But it's going to be exciting. But that's what I'd love to see. And that's that kind of tag team that Mark was looking for 3 years ago when he hired McDaniels and Ziegler.
Got it, Nash. Thanks for the call. Robert Saleh will be interviewing for the Raiders. Current Packers consultant to interview with the Jaguars and the Raiders, Robert Saleh. I don't know, head coach or not, defensive coordinator. He's a great defensive coordinator, but you're going to see a lot of the names coming in. And we'll be able to look at the names and maybe see some clues about what's going to happen. You all understand, right? We're looking for clues because we're not going to know, right? We're not doing the show inside the war room of the Raiders with Mark Davis sitting around in an open podcast. We're waiting to get information and then report it to you. And Q's great at that, and Vinny's great in the morning. And you got Vince Sapienza, who's got a lot of sources. Clay's been here a long time, and we're all just trying to piece this together so you have a flagship station. This is why we have a flagship station. So you can be anywhere around the world and click on the Raiders mobile app or the LV Sports Network, and you can find out what we're talking about every day. Thanks to the bricklayers. Great, epic day today. Really big day for us with spiking engagement on YouTube. Hope everybody has a good day. We're going to sign off from YouTube, and I'm going to wrap up the radio portion coming up. Wow, thank you, everyone. I mean, it wasn't a workout today, but I think I broke a sweat doing this. No doubt about it. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We got one more show tomorrow. Will there be breaking news? Well, they unfortunately got rid of the GM and the head coach, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Thanks to everybody. Appreciate everybody for joining us.